Well, hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're focusing on Cleveland wedges, the new CBZ wedges. These have got a lot of technology built into them, and it's interesting to think that from Cleveland's survey themselves, 87% of you guys, the golfer, is using a very much a forgiveness orientated iron. That doesn't mean that you're using blades, it doesn't mean that you're using a slight cavity, it means that you're using game improvement iron. So why wouldn't we look at game improvement wedges to go along with them? In today's video we're looking at these wedges. Can they help your game for this season? So with that 87% number in mind, that's 87% of you golfers using that game improvement style club for your irons. Why are they focusing so hard on a bladed set of wedges pretty much across the board throughout the market of the game of golf? Well, ultimately that bladed wedge that we're talking about there has been designed around the tour professional, and the tour professional is always looking for maybe a slightly different window of where they want to position that ball through with certain different shots, not necessarily with the kind of shorter shots like I'm playing here now, but maybe more of kind of like the fuller shots that they're playing in. But they want that versatility of being able to maneuver that ball flight depending on where the pin is and how they want to access that pin. And by having that bladed wedge, they're able to maneuver the weight around, which we'll get into in just a moment, which then gives that player the desired shot shape that they're looking for from that particular wedge. So if we look at these two wedges that I've got in my hand, we've got the CBZ that we're looking at today. We've also got the RTZ, which is their kind of newest lineup when it comes to their bladed, more standard looking wedge. And if you look at them, they are very different, aren't they, from the back side especially. The CBZ focusing very much on that cavity back, so taking a big lump out of the back and then distributing that weight all the way around the perimeter. Now this is going to give stability, high MOI, moment of inertia, so less twisting coming into impact. So if you do have those off-centered strikes, this perimeter weighting is definitely going to help you. And then when we look at the RTZ wedge, you know, that hasn't happened on this particular wedge. We've got pretty much a flat surface like you would see on a bladed set of irons. Now, the great thing about this when it comes to those companies, as I've already said, is that we can maneuver that weight into position, which will create that shot window that that player is looking for. So here on this one, you might see that the top edge has got a little bit more sort of weight pushed into it, pushing that CG maybe just a little bit higher, being able to flatten down that flight a fraction for that tour player that kind of wants that. By moving that weight around, it gives that player the desired flight, as I've talked about. Now, when we lose that, when it comes to taking that wedge out the back, it means that we might not get the flight that you're going to get out of the RTZ. However, there are a few things that Cleveland have done in order to try and, well, help as much as they can with your short game. Let's get into it. So Cleveland, when it comes to the launch of these wedges, very much focusing, certainly from the crib sheet, as to softer feel, responsive feel off the face. And we'll get into that in just a moment or later on in this video, because I want to get a sense of what that feel is like for myself. Now I'm out here hitting a few kind of wedge shots into the green, but couple of other bits of technology that we've got in these wedges which are similar to previous generations. Zip core technology. Now zip core technology is all about maneuvering that center of gravity position more behind the impact zone of where you're trying to hit that ball. So if you're trying to move that location more obviously towards the center of the club face, which would give you the perfect optimal kind of position to hit the shot, then they want to be able to maneuver that CG maybe a little bit away from the heel and move it more into that center point, giving us the control that they say we're going to get from that impact. The other thing that we've got with this particular setup, again seeing it in previous generations, is Ulti-Zip and Hydra-Zip. Now Ulti-Zip focusing very much on the grooves, allowing us to be able to maneuver debris away from those grooves, getting us the maximum spin control that we need for each shot. And then Hydra-Zip, that's focusing on moving water away from those grooves. When you get wet conditions, damp conditions, dewy conditions like we've got here this morning, you're going to get water sort of clinging onto the club face, which is going to reduce your spin numbers. Therefore, you're not going to get the control that you're looking for out on the golf course. So by being able to maneuver that water and debris away, we're still optimizing the performance of this particular wedge. Now, when it comes to actually testing that out on the golf course, I've got to say, from all the testing that I've done throughout the years from companies that say that they offer that type of technology, I'm not sure we're able to necessarily see it out on the golf course. However, from the kind of shots that I've been playing here today in these kind of environments that I'm out in, I've not got any shocks. I've caught that on a little bit clean, therefore it's landed up a little bit short, lost the ball speed. But the other shots that I've played in there, the ball has reacted how I would expect it to react in normal conditions. But as we can see this morning, we've got wet conditions. Those balls reacting very similar to what I'd see in those dry conditions. Now, a couple of options that are available when it comes to the CBZ wedges is we've got the full face technology. Again, we've seen this in previous generations. And we've got what I would call the standard face. Standard face meaning that the grooves run to kind of like, I don't know, 3/4 of the way up the face itself, and then it leaves a kind of flat spot on the outside, whereas the full face runs all the way across, all the way to the toe of the club. Now, the standard face is being offered available in wedges right the way through to lob wedge, whereas the full face focuses on more of a gap wedge from 50 degrees all the way up to lob wedge. So not available where they probably say that you don't need it on a full wedge shot into the greens. Now, what I would say is that when it comes to the full face, the testing that I've done in the past, where this really works well is when you start to open the club face up a little bit. You get that kind of ball kind of coming across the face a little bit more. You start to get it to strike or grip a little bit more out towards the toe. On the standard, you're going to kind of lose that little bit of grip because you haven't got grooves out there. And another great place is in the bunker. And if you go and look at your wedges, if you've got a wedge that you, let's say, use out of the bunker and go and have a quick look at the face of it, you might find that that wedge has got a little bit of a wear mark closer to the toe of the club than it has more towards the middle. And this is where this full face, I think, works really, oh, that's nice, isn't it? I think this is where this full face works really well, because it really does allow you to get the control like we've just got with that particular shot there, right out to the tiptoe. Now, I'm the player that likes to kind of open the face up from this position, kind of swing across myself to counteract that play there, and still get then, let's say, the control, which again, I got it there. I took that a little bit heavy that time, but I still feel like I've got the control right the way across the face. So for me, the full face is something that I think lots of golfers should look at or certainly consider, because it really does help when coming out of these kind of tough positions. Oh, there. Not bad, is it? Not bad. Plenty of spin that we're getting from the first time out of a bunker. Okay, about 120 yards out, I'm going to clip a couple of 50-degree wedges, which is from the standard face on the CBZ. Now, I use a 50-degree wedge, so I'm just going to have a little look to see obviously what this feels like from a fuller shot, but also look at what the window is going to be like. So we're going to pop up a couple of shot traces for you so you can see exactly what the window is looking like, as in where this ball kind of launches and how it kind of reacts up in the air. And I don't see, with the first swing there, I don't see, there's a lot of wind out the left-hand side there, but I don't see a great deal of difference, certainly from that one strike there, as in the window. When I look up, I'm expecting it to see it in a certain point. Now, that's something that you guys might not really think about too much, but when you test clubs and hit balls as much as kind of probably what I do, you do start to see what your levels are and what you expect to see from your own wedges. Maybe a fraction higher on that particular shot that I've just hit there, but you're talking minimal, absolutely minimal. And to be honest with you, when it comes to kind of shot windows, of how you're trying to put it through a shot window, that's a real kind of experienced golfer is going to want to try and sort of look at that. It's not necessarily going to be for the average golfer out there, to be honest with you. That side of it, I didn't see a great deal of difference from what I would normally see in my wedges, but I just wanted to give you a bit of an insight now into what Cleveland is saying when it comes to the feel of the wedges. I've hit some shots around the greens, I've now hit a few full shots with these wedges. What do they actually feel like? So one of the first things we've seen going to the RTZ into the CBZ is, and it's printed on the side of the wedge, it's called Z alloy. Now this is a new formula that Cleveland have come up with when it comes to the construction, the steel construction of these particular wedges, saying that they've now created a formula which gives us ultimate soft feel off the face. Now, I don't necessarily get a sense that I'm getting a softer feel from these wedges compared to maybe previous generations or even other wedges out on the market. I really feel like that comes down to the golf ball that you use more than, let's say, the actual wedges themselves. I think these feel absolutely fantastic, and if I was to play with a different golf ball, maybe a softer ball, I would get the sense of it being a little bit softer. If I play with a kind of, let's say, a Pro V1 X ball, that might feel a little bit clickier off the face. I'm not necessarily getting a difference from these generations to previous generations, so I'll have to take kind of Cleveland's word on that, because technology is technology, and if there's new formulas out there that's going to help Cleveland create better wedges that feel better for the average golfer, fantastic. The other thing is we've got a new technology in the back which is 94% larger, and it's a gel back technology, which is kind of, I would say, at the back of the wedge, which is like a TPU insert, which gives it a softer feel. The alloy saying that they're going to give us kind of 25% softer than, let's say, previous generations, and then we've now got almost like a sweet spot or a softer spot which is 94% larger than, again, previous generations. So Cleveland focusing very much on a feel point of view when it comes to these particular wedges. Yes, there is maybe some slight differences from previous generations to these ones. However, from my point of view, when it comes to actually wedges that are going to work best for the average golfer, I definitely think that we need to consider looking at more of a cavity back wedge. I'm not seeing, let's say, something out here that is jumping out saying that I shouldn't necessarily use this wedge. For those off-centered strikes, I definitely think cavity back definitely works for, well, works for everybody. We're still going to maintain those ball speeds with those off-centered strikes, which is key to getting our distance control with every swing. But I'd like to hear down in the comments, what do you think? Are you going to go out and test the new Cleveland CBZ wedges for this season? Are they going to be looking at going into your golf bag? Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you again on the next video.